U.S. and Russian officials will converge on the state of Alaska ahead of a highly anticipated Friday meeting between President Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin. Both leaders will meet for the first time in 6 years as Trump tries to enact a key campaign pledge to end Russia's war in Ukraine. The U.S. president, who has portrayed himself as a global peacemaker, hopes to leverage his personal relationship with Putin to achieve a ceasefire breakthrough where others have failed. On Thursday, Trump assessed there was a 25% chance the meeting would not be successful. Ukraine's leader, Volodymyr Zelensky, has been excluded from the talks and warned that any resolutions made in his absence will be meaningless. Let's talk about this. Alexander von Rugen is a global policy analyst, and he joins me now to unpack the moves by President Donald Trump and the European leaders to end the war in Ukraine. Thank you very much for giving us the time. The European leaders met with President Trump on Wednesday ahead of the Putin's Alaska summit. Now, President Zelensky has bluntly stated that all concerned parties should forget about any peace deal if they would not include Ukraine in the peace talks. Is he asking for too much?
Well, I think Mr. Zelensky has proven to be a little temperamental. In previous meetings, there was an outburst in the White House not so long ago, which resulted in him leaving in haste and then returning to apologize. I think the outcome of the meeting with Trump and Putin is to basically lay the groundwork for peace. He's, as you've indicated, he says there's a 25% chance of failure, at which point he's going to leave immediately back to Washington. But at the same time, I think Trump wants to meet face-to-face with Putin because there have been other deals on the table outside of Ukraine, which I think the presidential dealmaker wants to table with Putin, such as rare earth rights in Russia, the sanctions on India for buying Russian fuel. These are matters outside of the Ukraine, but directly with the U.S., and Russia and global affairs that are going on in the BRICS pact at this point. So I think President Trump wanted to have that one-on-one time with Putin. He also publicly announced Zelensky should be in Alaska and they can have a follow-up meeting if the first meeting with Putin proves to show good results.
While Putin has stated that he saw sincerity in Trump's move to end the war, Trump, on the other hand, noted that Putin wants to get it done at tomorrow's Alaska summit. Why would you think Zelensky feels left out in this discussion, despite Trump considering a second meeting with him after now?
Well, Trump has indicated any final touches to a peace, such involving exchange of land, which Trump has hinted that will likely occur. This is what's really stirred up Zelensky's temper, because he's made it very clear there will be no land annexed to Russia that's currently occupied. That has been his stance all along. His stance has also been to return lands that were annexed in 2014 in the Crimea and Donetsk regions by Russia. So that's the impasse. The other details, such as Ukraine becoming a member of NATO, the size of the Ukrainian military on an ongoing basis, the types of weapons that are going to be stockpiled in Ukraine, those are all going to be the underlying conditions of a peace. And that will have to be between Ukraine and Putin, or Zelensky and Putin, with the support of Europe and, of course, the U.S.
President Trump has also allayed Ukrainian president's fear that any deal would not be made without him. Isn't this enough assurance, or is there more than meets the eye?
As I said, the underlying conditions are going to require the input of Ukraine. What Ukraine doesn't like is other powers dictating their future as to where their boundaries are going to be and the state of their nation. Europe has said they want to support an independent state of Ukraine. They will offer humanitarian support. They will offer military support. Zelensky is also just coming out of a scandal in his own country, an anti-corruption scandal where he scaled back the anti-corruption auditors. This was much to the chagrin of van der Leyen in Europe, asking, why did you do that? We want better checks and balances, which he immediately restructured the anti-corruption auditors, and lo and behold, some military officials were charged with treason.
For all that matters, why is this peace deal having a tough posture or appearing to be a hard nut to crack? What exactly are the key sticking points in the negotiations between Ukraine and Russia?
I think you have to look back at the history of the Iron Curtain falling back in 1997 in the initial NATO-Russia treaty. In 1999, Poland, Hungary, and Czechoslovakia, which were part of the Warsaw Pact, joined NATO. But then in 2004, a host of other countries, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, joined, Romania, Slovakia, Slovenia as well, joined NATO. And then in 2009, Croatia and Albania joined NATO. Russia feels like the walls are caving in on it, which wasn't part of the original 1999 accord, and they wanted to keep their so-called influence in the former Warsaw Pact countries. Now, Ukraine and Russia, from a cultural standpoint, are very close as far as the people go. And with the threat of Ukraine joining NATO, this is, I guess, overwhelming for Russia that the East is moving in on them, and that was part of the initial annexation in 2014. Russia has been voicing their concerns for the past 20 years of this movement shrinking the size of Russia and the borders of NATO coming closer. And I think because of the social ties with Ukraine and Russia, it was the final straw that broke the camel's back.
Alexander, as always, thank you very much for your thoughts on the news.
My pleasure.